Hello, my name is Tim Grady. I'm from Lawton, Oklahoma, Seventh Day Adventist Church. Excuse me. I am just a member. Today, I'm going to be talking about the idea that I put out earlier, the $1 sailboat idea. And it's bigger than that. I'm going to start with this guy, Backwaters and Back Roads. He's doing the Great Loop. He's done the Great Loop many times. He's done portions of it. He'll build a boat, and he showed that you can take a pontoon boat, which is called gunk hauling. There's a term called gunk hauling, and you're going from little cove to little cove in the ocean. So you're not having to have a full ocean boat. So on good days, you move around out in the ocean with a boat that isn't like this. Up top here, the boat he's got here is not an ocean going boat, but yet he can gunk haul, go from bay to bay to bay to bay on good weather days and get around Florida. He can get around and do the Great Loop. Now, how many of you remember the story Huckleberry Finn? Huckleberry Finn made a raft and went up and down Mississippi River and all the adventures that he had. This is what this man is doing up here with this boat. You can live on one of these boats very, very inexpensively because you have no rent. You have little maintenance on your boat. And if you keep up on your maintenance on your boat, you can do very well. Now, he bought an expensive four-stroke Honda motor. Now, if you can afford it, that's what you can do. But let's talk about some of the things he did well and some of the things he didn't do well. He's well experienced in boats. He's done this. And he's shown many, many builds. That's what's so nice about him, is he will show other people's builds when he's going along, and he'll interview other people that are living on the Mississippi, all these other rivers that, I mean, you can go up, I forgot what the name of the river is, but you can go all the way from up the Mississippi break off and go all the way into Tulsa, Oklahoma in a full-fledged deep draft ocean going cargo container ship and get into Tulsa, Oklahoma. Now, what I want to talk about is every pound you add to this boat drops you down X amount. So for every inch, there are so many pounds that the boat can hold. Now, he used a lot of wood, a lot of very heavy wood. If you're going to build this, I would recommend, this is my recommendation, you can go with the wood and do the other, but it gives you less other things you can carry. And he has a problem carrying his scooter up front because he used such heavy building materials in the initial construction. So if you're going to go that route, use metal studs, save 30 to 50% of the weight. Go with coroplast and then put metal on top of the coroplast instead of plywood. That's if you do coroplast. When you're on the water, you need to have a water safe insulation that is not going to mold and make you sick. Rock wool, the spray foam, there are advantages and disadvantages to the spray foam. This is a video to get you to think outside the box. That's all this is. There are options to getting out of the cities. So the $1 sailboat is a whole lot more than just a sailboat. It is getting you out of the cities. Not expensive. Now you can buy old pontoon boats, and what he did is he bought another past one he bought a pontoon boat and then just built above it. But in another one, he took 3 pontoons and built a cabin on top of it. Great idea. Great idea. You can go solar. You can do a whole lot of things. Just let your mind, open your mind, pray to God what he would lead you to do. And don't think inside these simple boxes. Remember, this country is going to go from first world, second world, third world, sub-third world in a very short order during the little time of trouble when the Sabbath law comes here very shortly. So this is a way to get you out of the city very, very inexpensively. A little bit of labor, and you can be on the water. You can find old pontoon boats. And again, you don't have to just have one. You could have 2 of these going together. You could tie them together in a barge. It's not as efficient as towing one, but you'll figure it out as time goes along. You can also have 2 motors. Again, if you're thinking of leaving the cities and you're thinking seriously about this and you're not building your skills today, I'm talking construction, I'm talking welding, I'm talking mechanics, I'm talking basic everyday skills that you need to live either in the country or on the water like this. Now he is taking third world idea with that little scooter. Do you need a car? Can you get along with a scooter and a trailer? Can you get along with a family with 2 scooters and 2 trailers? Third world does it all the time. A little 110cc scooter can get you around, get 70 miles to the gallon, costs you 1/10 of what it costs you to insure a car. On a lot of things to consider. How much gas does your car use? How much, all these things that come around to this idea. This is living absolute frugal. And there's a lot more people doing this on the Mississippi, the Red River, than all these other navigable waterways that go to the ocean. California's only got a couple. Oregon has 2. Washington has 3, 4 navigable rivers that you could live on outside of the cities. You start getting into the central part of the country, not much there. But like I said, Oklahoma, where I live in Oklahoma, you've got Tulsa, Oklahoma, and you can go from Tulsa, Oklahoma out to the ocean anywhere you want by the lock system. Now, the locks go down, you're stuck between 2 locks, you're going to stay there. So you've got the Illinois, you've got all these rivers. You can get by the way, you can get all the way up into Minnesota by the river system, by the Illinois River. There's a lot more. There's all the Great Loop rivers. You get on the East Coast, everything all the way up from the East Coast, from Delaware, Virginia, North Carolina, all of those, you can get on the water and move through. So that is one concept on the dollar sailboat. You can find out many of these people and see good points to the build, bad points to the build. But again, if your family is big enough, you can go with 2 or 3 of these little barges, these little motor barges. And let's go down to some of the things. Here's another one that was built. It was a pretty cool, that was a cool build. That was an ultralight build. Let's see. Here's how he was going in different boats. This was a cool boat. He picked it up, but that's more expensive than what you need. And he spent a lot of money fixing that boat up to where it would function well. That's why I'm saying the $1 sailboat, turn it into a motorboat. I'll talk about the $1 sailboat a little more in the other idea. And these are the different builds other people have. He's got some pretty neat stuff here. He's one of the ones I recommend, especially because he took the idea of the barge house, and mixing it with the scooter. That's pretty. That was a pretty good idea. And again, if you build it with metal studs and cut 30%, you can add more solar, more weight, and you're not limited. You can get into shallower places if you make it lighter. Okay, here's one. Okay, I'm going to pull this over here. This is one. See where this hatch opens up? If you open this up here and make it to this height, you now have full standing room right here. And then you have a full area. I don't think this one's big enough. I think this one's too small. But as some of the other sailboats that are a little bigger than this, you can still tow behind a car or a truck. Get rid of the sails. If you don't know how to sail, get rid of the sails. If you want to learn how to sail, but maintaining the sailing system, you can drop the weight, get into smaller places. That's why I really like these little sailboats. And again, it has to be over a 24-foot sailboat. A 24-foot sailboat gives you 2 little bedrooms back here in the underneath the deck here that are called quarter berths. So your kids can each have their own little tunnel bedroom. And then you can put a little wall up here and have your bedroom up front in the V berth, and then have your standing room where you can make it with your tiller and all of your stuff and your engine controls here. And how they've made this here, you can put some lightweight like coroplast or something in there and fiberglass that all in. And now you have a crouch area, and now you have housing area. So you have the bedrooms underneath. You have your tiller in your standing area. And then you have on one side, you'll have your kitchen. On the other side, you're going to have your, and you're going to have to use a composting head or a cassette toilet. Advantages to both. Do your research. Think outside the box. And here are many ones that have sailboat to motorboat conversion. This guy does some really neat stuff. If you want to learn a lot about fiberglass, he can teach you. Here is one that I really like. A sailboat trawler. I don't like what he did with taking the V-berth out. But again, you could do what he did with this one, and you can leave the you can leave the quarter berths in. Keep starting. But I like what he did there. But there are other. He never finished that one, by the way, but it was a good idea. But if you leave the front berth and the other berth, and you just make it from just behind the V berth and where the study is, and the and making it into a full stand all the way through, you can do that. It's a lot of fiberglass work, but again, you can go to these junkyards, and you can find them. There are other ones down here that has been done. And here's somebody else that made a sailboat trawler. And there's a lot of ways you can do that. If you're in an area where you can buy these used lifeboats, those are good. Those are very good. And you can get the diesel engines with them. They burn very little fuel. Again, good way of getting around. Good, solid, open ocean. Yeah, here's that guy. Here's what he got it to, and this is where I think he finished off and didn't finish it fully. But yeah, here's what it ended up being. And again, what are you willing to do it? To do what Ellen White said is get out of the cities, when to get out of the cities. Frugal living. That's what it's all about. Finding ways to live absolutely frugally. But again, I think this guy's got the best idea. Let's go here. Boat scrap yards. Let's see what we can find in that. Salvage and auction. There are a lot of, boat scrap yards. Look at how many of these boats are being just, that happens every day to decent floatable boats. You can buy a boat like this, take off where that glass is, and put on a you can put on the second story, fill that all in, make that a liveaboard. Now, get rid of that inboard outboard and put two. You're not going to go fast, but if you put two, okay. Now let's look at this lawnmower to outboard conversions. Now this is thinking outside the box. This is one you can buy already done. I haven't watched his video, but whatever. That's not a bad price if you can get one of those, and you can put 2 or 3 or 4 of those on the back of one of these. Where was that? Something like this. Fiberglass that all and make it into a true houseboat. And put a few of those on. Oh, here is a true boat yard, boat scrap yard. Look at all those boats, all those hulls. They would rather sell it to you for very little money. This is not a marina where you go in and you buy the ones that are on the junk side before they go to these people. You can buy them for $1. But look at all these hulls that are scrapped out. You can go in here. You can go into these things right here. You can go up there and find all of these things. You can find hulls. You can find things. You can turn in. You can find old motorboats. all of these other things. And there are many. See, there's a sailboat right there, right on that side. You could get into very cheaply. You could sell the mast, you could sell the parts, you could sell off all the parts that you don't want or not sailing anymore. Go get you one of those little outboards. Let's back up. Okay, where see that boat back there? That was that three bottom flat bottom. Let's go back a little. See, there's an old pontoon boat. You could make, get two or three of those, and get them, and make a couple of boat yards out of. Or was that little three bottom? But many of these hulls, you could make some of these bigger hulls, like this one right here. Right here. You could build out that back with coroplast and some aluminum and coroplast. You could build that out, finish that off, and turn that into. Here's one that is kind of a already instead of all of this plastic on the back, you could make that with fiberglass and coroplast and some aluminum. There, that little three. Yeah, sorry. Okay, it's gonna come up here. There's that sailboat right there. And then there's going to be that little three bottom. And you can make that into just a floating house because it's kind of a flat bottom boat right there, that little white three bottom. You could just take that whole thing and just make it into a cabin. A couple of those and a couple of those small engines. You don't need a big engine. You don't need to move fast. And by the way, when you're talking about these engines, when you're talking about engines like this, and you're talking about engines like this is a really good conversion. 6 point, but you have to learn what pitch of the prop is needed. Here's a guy that does them a lot. And he's put them on the back of his pontoon boat. Just one of those. Sorry, this guy here. I don't want to. Back into starting his video or the preview of his video. That idea of taking these old, those are 9.9s. That's probably an 18 or 20 horse. And again, the diameter and the pitch of the prop. If you don't want speed, but you want like torque, the pitch of the prop is equivalent to changing the gears in a transmission, a manual transmission. So if you have a low pitch, it will push you one way. That is a high pitch. And you talk to any decent scrap boat yard or someone that is knowledgeable in the marinas, they can get you to the right pitch prop for your application. Because if you're going to be pushing this pontoon boat, and this is another one, he built this. I don't like this idea. See where he took those? And he took those polypropylene barrels. Don't do that unless you're absolutely desperate. You're better off buying a scrap pontoon boat and putting a third if you need flotation and you're going to build heavy, put a third or fourth pontoon and just stack four pontoons next to each other. And you can run a shorter pontoon up the middle than the two outsides. So if you get a bigger pontoon and a littler pontoon, and again, you don't have to just have one boat. You can have more than one boat. You can have more than one of these little floating cabins. think outside the box. That's all I'm trying to get you to do, is think outside the box. But boat scrap yards. Here's another sailboat right there. You can get some of it. See, that one's not. And that's how they end up in the scrapyard. They get delivered and dropped off just like that. That could easily be repaired, the little bit of damage that was done by it being dropped on the ground. A little bit of fiberglass repair, and no problem. You could turn that boat into a motorboat. And that one's probably going to need to push it efficiently. You're probably going to need about 30, 35, maybe 40 horsepower. But you could probably just, if you're only trying to get up and down the rivers, you could get away with 2 6.5, maybe 3 6.5s, and do 4 knots up the river and 5 knots down. 3 to 4 up. 3 to 4 up the river. Down the river, you could get 5 to 7. But yeah, there are boats all over. Hundreds of boats up for auction as salvage yards. Along, yeah, there are more boats than you can shake. Even this boat right here. See that boat? See either one of these boats? You could take that windshield off and just build up a full and turn that into a cabin house. You got a nice cuddy cabin up here. You could do all 2 or 3 of these boats out of here. See this one right here? That's a good flat bottom. That one would be good to put or barge. But any of these old, take out those engines, fiberglass up that hole where the old engine is. And you can see what they have. Let's go here. Again, hulls like this or hulls like that, even hulls, 2 or 3 of these hulls that are in the 18 to 24 foot, that's probably a 30 footer. If you took that 30 footer and built up a cabin on top of that, yeah, you could live your family in there. You pick up a couple of these littler ones. See, here's one. See that little tri-hull? That would get along efficient. But you could, if you're only a single or a married couple, you could get that one right there and just build up a steel frame, coroplast, fiberglass it to the deck, get you watertight, put your little solar on top. You could live in that. Where was that little 3 bottom? And the simpler you make it, the less hassle you're going to have. But again, yeah, YouTube is getting so you can't even. YouTube's getting to where you can't even get good consistent. Stay away from Copart. Stay away from them. Go to a salvage yard. Stay away from auto auctions and go to there are better places to find a boat. And again, it's this idea right here. This idea with a scooter. Can you get around doing that? That is how you live in third world. That is how people do it in third world. So what he does is he pulls up to the shore, he pulls out his plank, runs his scooter, his literally scooter. Um, he now just got a nice one. Specifically that would be best for what it is. But you go into any one of those Amazon, Walmart, out of China, 200cc motorcycles. Okay, let's put this. Okay, scooter trailer. If you're in a family, one of these scooters and a one-wheel trailer like this can get you grocery shopping, can get you all sorts of stuff. Now, here is a scooter hitch and trailer. And he's got one of those littler Harbor Freight trailers. You can put 4x8 sheets of plywood on it. You can do all of your whole bunch with that. If you start thinking that way, as if you are in the third world, because that is what this country is about to turn into, is third world or sub-third world in the different stages of the Sabbath law comes along. This country is going to turn into, and you've got all sorts of different stuff. You can put bicycle trailers on the back of these things. Now, here, a bicycle trailer like that is one way to get your kids around. Now, I don't know if they're going to allow you to do that with the other. Now, oh, another thing, if you want to learn about that, look at these guys. These guys are taking long trips. Okay. Scooter Cannonball. These guys are living off their scooters for a week or so and doing very, very long trips across the country. There are many of these. There's east, west, east coast, west coast. There's ones that go all the way across the country. There's ones that just go up and down the Wisconsin, Great Lake Michigan. There are many of these, but a lot of these guys have trailers, and a lot of these guys you can learn from. There are people making trailers, specific one-wheel trailers, specifically for the scooters. Here's a guy. There's two guys that did an East Coast 3-day cannonball run, living off their scooters. And you can look; they have extra fuel. These are the CT. I don't know. These are the new CT 125s. See here where they put this little gas tank here, this extra gas tank. You can put a car seat right here, perfectly legal. Younger kids can sit in a car seat right here. You can modify the car seat so it's not going to be in the way of the handlebars, and you can legally put a car seat right here. You can put a second seat, pull a trailer, a family of three. Now you have husband and wife. Yes, again, see where that little gas tank is there? Gas tank, and see, here's another CT. Here's a CT 90, no, CT 50. You can find one of those and put a big bore kit on it. But they can show you, see if there's how it is. You can, if you're a husband and wife and two kids, or husband and wife and one kid, young kid, you can get on that scooter and go around and get you to and from. Do you need a car? You got to think of what is going to be surviving, getting out of the cities. How do you survive? Here's again another cannonball runner right there. that's a commercial. Oh, that's the same guys, but that's a commercially bought one-wheel trailer. There are some people doing two-wheel trailers. There are some people doing all sorts of different things on those cannonball runs. That's where you start looking at all these guys, how they increase the and here are some of the other. This is a 250 or a 350. More expensive scooter. But there are ways of doing things and thinking outside the box. And that's what I'm trying to get you to do, is think outside the box. And do these things like look at these scooter cannonball runs. Look at this. Look at ways to not literally, if you took one of these where were those? Boat yards, and thinking about building one of those smaller hulls, building it up into a cabin, building light, or even going like this. Yeah, you're living in an impoverished type of living, but it is simple, it is straightforward. And it's a way of getting out of the cities today. Again, I made the video on why I believe we don't have much time to get out of the city. But I think I'm going to end the video here. I think I've gone enough into this man's idea, buying a lesser hull, building it up so you have a cabin on a hull. You don't have to get out in the ocean. If you can get on these rivers, or you can get into these different places and up these little creeks and rivers. And if you gunk haul between, if you are in the ocean, you need to go from one place to another, you can gunk haul on good days and do 30, 40, 50 miles into different rivers and then let bad weather pass, plan out, and go back around. And his idea of mixing, where my pointer is here, where my mouse pointer is here, where he's got the scooter up front and he's got the cabin, that to me is the ultimate. Again, you can get on these scooters with motorcycle trailers. You can get on the cannonball runners where they have, but if you have a husband and wife and you can put a child carrier on the back, it is legal. Put a child carrier on the back and a child carrier in the front, and you can now have child, adult, child. If you have a child that is able to sit up by themselves, they no longer need the, so you're 5 or 6, you can now put them on the scooter with a helmet, and they can reach, you can put the pegs up high enough that they can reach. If they have to be able to reach the pegs, the foot pegs, they have to have a helmet. Anything, now it depends on the state. Some states, and it's just good, have them in a helmet. But a lot of these scooter cannonballers, yeah, they got some good ideas. But if you have little child, mid-sized child, adult, you have an adult and another child, you can have a family of 4 or 5, maybe even 6, and get around on these scooters. Is it convenient as a car? No. But does it get you where you need to go? Pulling a trailer, you can get your groceries, you can get everything you can. You can get everything you need by these scooters. And back to this man's idea, where he's got the scooter right here. in the cabin. And if you have the outboard motors, if you can't afford an outboard motor, the one was pretty neat. I don't know anything about those. I've never tried them, but it looks like it's a much more simple idea. Oh, by the way, those motors are turn around to get around. So in other words, they're on a pivot, so you have to lean over the engine to go in reverse, and use the throttle and then come back. But you don't need a fancy to live on the water. I've seen people make boats out of bamboo in the third world and live on them quite well. It's just another out of the box thinking. So I think I'm going to leave it there. Okay, now it's not coming up. There it is. Okay. And out here.